Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 26th of September and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in the today's video, we'll be discussing the entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We'll take the articles with the background as well as the way forward also will be taking up. Now, let's start with the video. But before starting, I would like to tell you that you can download the explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. Here we have given the notes of all the articles that we are going to discuss. You can follow these notes along with the video. So link for the Telegram channel has been given in the description box in YouTube. Moreover, you can visit Telegram and can search Thinking Palette by Sahil and can download these notes from the channel. Now, before starting, let's see the overview of the entire newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are important for the exam, which articles you just need to see in the headlines. Okay, so here we have the page number 1 and the first article, 92 MLAs in Rajasthan threatened to resign if Sachin Pilot is made CM. Now see, these kind of political developments are continuous and they are going in one or the other states, and these kind of issues are not important for the UPSC exam, so no need to go in this particular line. The same article is there here also, so no need to go there. Very premature to comment on India getting UNSC veto. So guys, we'll see this particular article in the newspaper. Then moving on, the protest in Uttarakhand, all these things are going on, DU admissions, etc. Fine, so for exam you don't need to go here. Then the advertisements, etc. has been given. Okay, then moving on, after that again the advertisements and all such kind of things are there. Okay, so moving on, we'll be reaching directly then to the editorial page. Till the editorial page, much relevant articles in the regional sections are not there. Okay, now the editorial, first editorial talks about the soft power. So the concept of soft power, okay, how the soft power through sports can be leveraged by India. Very good article, we'll see that. Then a ground plan for India's reformed multilateralism. So right now, what are the priorities of India? Fine, with respect to its relations with the other countries, we'll see all those dimensions here. Then moving on, violent front. Okay, so the basically here we have seen that the government had cracked down onto the PFI. Okay, all those particular directions things have been discussed here. Then moving on, over the top, now this article talks about the telecommunication bill that has recently been introduced and how it is bringing the threat onto the privacy. We'll see that particular dimension. Then moving on, India incorporation needs a neurodiverse workplace. So this is a new word, neurodiverse workplace. What does it means? How this thing can have implications onto the productivity on the workplace. We'll see that article. Then Maharashtra's loss is Gujarat's gain. Okay, so the Vedanta Foxconn project, okay, all those things have been discussed here. Fine. Then moving on, midday meal related food poisoning cases at 6-year peak. We'll see the article. Fine, and some of the data with respect to the children related issues. We'll see. Then moving on, here we have the text and the context page, and the first article talks about shifting of the monsoon patterns. Fine, so we'll see this article. Then what are the new ICC rules? Okay, so the new ICC rules have come in play. Fine, so the rules with respect to the rules with respect to using the spit to shine the ball and all these kind of things have been discussed. Okay, however, do you need to go in deep in this particular article? So guys, with UPSC with respect to the ICC rules only with respect to the cricket that has been amended, such kind of things are usually not asked into the examination. Okay, then moving on quiet quitting. So this is a kind of a new trend that we see with respect to the workplaces, quiet quitting. So what this quiet quitting is all about and how these particular things are having some implications on the workplace. We'll see that entire article. Then moving on, after that guys, militants killed in the LOC etc. has been given. Fighter jet strength depleting, IAF expedites Su-30 fleet modernization. So guys, we see this particular thing that the fighter jet strength of the Indian Air Forces have went down, and now you also know that India is facing the possibility of the two-front war. On one hand there is Pakistan, on other hand there is China, and with the Pakistan and China confrontations in the past have increased. However, the fighter jet strength is depleting. Okay, so simply the Indian Air Force have had expedited the Su-30 fleet modernization. We need more of aircrafts. Okay, then moving on, labor cost edge may dissipate due to tech shifts, Niti advisor. Okay, so the Niti Aayog had said that how there is the shifting patterns, okay, into the labor, into the manufacturing. Okay, then moving on, left parties fail to adapt to cultural needs. Okay, the political articles etc. have been given. However, below, Election Commission push of internal democracy has been discussed. Okay, so it's a good article. We'll see this also. Then moving on, inventory of Armenian properties into the city of joy, Telangana gears up for present case. Okay, so no need to go too much in detail in these particular articles. UPSC related or UPSC relevant substance is not there. Then today it's money wise, so business page doesn't comes on the Monday, okay, and the money wise page contains the investing, mutual fund, stock market related advices. Okay, then moving on, the world page. Chinese Communist Party picks National Congress delegates. Okay, far right eye first government since World War I in Italy. Okay, so understand this thing, that when we talk about the international relations, international issues, those international issues are important, which will have a direct impact on India, or where the India's relation with some another country is concerned. So for example, the elections in Italy, elections in Germany, or elections going on in some another country, that is not very much important with respect to the UPSC examination. So where India's interest will be involved, those things are something that we need to go too much in detail. Then we have the sports page. Okay, so guys, that is all about the overview of the newspaper, and now let's discuss all the relevant articles that we have seen one by one in the detail. Okay, let's start now. In every class, before starting, we take a GS quotation. Now, this GS quotation can be used in one of your paper, fine, in order to complement your answers, as well as in essay papers. This GS quotations can be used. So today we'll take the quote from Martin Luther King Jr., who happens to be one of the most prominent civil rights activists of US. He says that our scientific power has outrun our spiritual power. We have guided missiles and misguided men. So our scientific power has increased and it has overpassed the spiritual, moral, ethical dimension of the human being. Today we have a guided missile where we control the missiles, but we have misguided men. The men are not controlled by morality. They are not controlled by ethicality. The sense of moral compass has become very, very weak. The conscience into the human beings have become very weak. And this particular thing can be seen in the crises that are going in the world. So right now we see that the Russia-Ukraine war is going on. Now this particular war is a war of national interest, or is it? This particular thing is debatable. However, at the end of the day, we see that the people are suffering, children are suffering. Okay, so we have the misguided men who take misguided decisions, and that misguided decision impacts the humanity. So our spiritual development, spiritual conquest, spiritual pursuits have declined over the years. And what this needs an urgent intervention of ethics, morality. Now, this particular idea can be used in GS paper number 4. GS paper number 4, ethics. GS paper number 4, ethics. So very good attachment. Now let's take the first article. Shifting monsoon patterns. Shifting monsoon patterns. Okay. Now this particular article we'll see with respect to GS paper number 1. In GS paper number 1, there is geographical phenomena that have been mentioned. So there we'll see this article. Now before going in this particular article, why this article has come? So just 2 days back, we have seen this particular thing, that the IMD, that is the India Meteorological Department, had said that the monsoon retreat has started from the Rajasthan. So as the monsoon retreat had started from Rajasthan, we will see this particular phenomena. We'll see that how the monsoons were in this particular year, how it will impact the food production in India, and all those dimensions we'll see. Okay. Now, first of all, when we talk about the monsoons, let's talk some of the very basic points first, and then we'll move in this article. Okay. So when we talk about the monsoons, so monsoons comes from the word monsoon. Okay. So we find this thing that, okay, you have the ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone. So what is the ITCZ? So the normal position of ITCZ is around, it is around the equator, 5 to 10 degree north and 5 to 10 degree south of the equator. The ITCZ, Intertropical Convergence Zone, exists as a ideal condition. So here the trade winds converge. Here the trade winds converge. But what happens due to the apparent shifting of sun? Due to the apparent shifting of sun, we find this particular thing. That the ITCZ extends over India. ITCZ extends, this particular black line, ITCZ extends over the India. And the trade winds from towards the side of the ocean which have carried the moisture, they start to flow over India. And as these trade winds are coming over India and as they have moisture, they start to rain. And this period, this particular period of June to October that we have, we call it as the period of monsoon, where regular rains over the India are received. So what are the monsoon? Monsoon, number one, it is the shifting of the ITCZ towards the north. As this convergence zone shifts toward the north, it attracts the wind towards it. It attracts the winds towards the India, and these winds carry the moisture, so it rains. Okay, so the monsoon starts. Okay, now when we talk about the monsoon, what is the official date when the monsoon starts in India? What's the official time when this ITCZ will shift towards the north? So last week of May or the first week of June. Okay, so officially June 1 is the date when the monsoon of the onset of the monsoon starts into the Kerala. Okay, so the monsoon rain starts from June 1, okay, and it continues till the September 30. Okay, and the October 1 has been declared as a date. So June to October 1 is a date when India will see the monsoon, and after that the monsoon will start to retreat. The monsoon will start to retreat. So what happens? October onwards we see the retreating monsoon. Now what is the retreating monsoon? So basically we have seen that the ITCZ got shifted over the India around the month of the June, but then this ITCZ starts to take its normal place, okay, it starts to shift southwards. Okay, and then what happens? The monsoon winds that were coming, they started to retreat. Now the monsoon retreat start from the Rajasthan. Okay, the monsoon retreat, it starts from the Rajasthan. Fine. So this is something. However, when we talk about the monsoon retreat, majorly the India doesn't experiences the rainfall, but there are certain parts, for example, the Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and the interior of the Karnataka. These regions experience the major rain from the retreating monsoon, and now this retreating monsoon has been started, where the ITCZ has again started to shift towards the south. That is happening. Okay, now when we talk about the performance of the monsoon, how the performance of monsoon was this particular year. So this is something where the analysis part will be coming. So up till now it was just simple geography. So basically this year the monsoon has been surplus by 7%. Okay, but at the same time there was extreme inequity with respect to the rainfalls. For example, the parts of the central and the southern India, they had seen a increase into the rainfall, but the east and the northeast of India, they have reported the 17% shortfall. Moreover, the northwestern part, okay, northwestern part of India also had seen the shortfall of around 2%, and in this capacity over the Punjab, over the Haryana, there has been little bit of decline. So in total there was a 7% increase, but a lot of inequity. Eastern India, northeastern India, northwestern India, there has been shortfall. Okay, now the question comes, first of all, that why in total, why there was the surplus rainfall by 7%. So understand this particular thing. Heavy rains were due to the La Nina effect that we are facing. Now what is the La Nina effect? Let's understand the La Nina effect in very simple words. So basically here we see this thing, that when we talk about the Pacific around the coast of the Peru, okay, so this is the Peru. So around the coast of the Peru, what happens, in some of the years there is abnormal upwelling of the cold water. So the cold water upwells here. As the cold water upwells, basically it pushes, okay, the warm water, and the warm water gets accommodated around the coast of the Australia. Is it clear? And this particular warm water pool that gets developed here, it gives rise to more stronger trade winds. Okay, more stronger trade winds. And if you remember what is the monsoon, first let me clear this thing. So I told you what happens, the ITCZ, okay, just a minute. So I have explained you that the ITCZ gets extended over the India, and this particular ITCZ attracts the trade winds. Now if these trade winds will be more strong, what will happen? They'll carry more moisture, they'll bring more monsoon rains in the India. Okay, so actually what's happening, so around the coast of the Peru, the cold water upwells, and because the upwelling of abnormally high more cold water here, the hot water is shifted around the coast of the Australia, around the Asia, and this warm water leads to more stronger trade winds, and these more stronger trade winds bring more monsoon to India. Now this particular year, the La Nina that we are facing, this is a special kind of a La Nina. Why special kind of a La Nina? So there is actually so we are facing the triple dip La Nina. Triple dip La Nina. What's the triple dip La Nina? So sometimes, now this condition of La Nina, it spans for 1 year, sometimes a 2 year. But in some abnormal conditions, the La Nina exists for 3 years, and we call it as the triple dip La Nina. Triple dip La Nina. And right now, India is seeing an extended spell of La Nina from last 3 years. That is, since 2019 onwards, India is seeing the surplus rain. So this is the triple dip La Nina, where 3 years surplus rain is coming, and this is only the third time since 1950 that the triple dip La Nina has been observed. So therefore this becomes important one, and there can be a full-fledged question in mains as well as in prelims also that can be asked. So this is the third time that India is facing the triple dip La Nina since 1950, and it brings abnormally good rains for the period of 3 years. So that is happening. Okay, so guys, but as I have told you that inequity was there, but and at the same time, you know that the regions of Uttar Pradesh, regions of Punjab, regions of Haryana, they are very important contributors into the food security of India, and these particular regions, okay, towards the Uttar Pradesh, towards the Punjab, okay, the rainfall has been less. So in total, we find this particular thing that the paddy sown, the paddy that has been sown, it has been less. Is it clear or not? And moreover, at the same time, just I'll tell you. Okay, so you just focus on to the newspaper. So paddy planting has been impacted, and the sown area has been 5.5% less than the last year. Moreover, it has been expected that 6 million ton shortfall into the rice production will be there, and as there will be the less production of the rice, what will happen? It will bring the food inflation the next year, okay, because of the deficiency of the rice, because this year actually this year onwards only we'll see the rice deficiency, and it will bring the inflation. So this is the entire issue that has been there. Is it clear or not? So now we'll move to the next article. On quiet quitting, a call for better workplace practices. Okay, so right now this quiet quitting trend has become a prominent one on the social media. So we'll understand what this quiet quitting is all about, how it will impact the workplaces, and before that, where this article is going to be important. So this article will be important in GS paper number 4. GS paper number 4. Within GS paper number 4, there is a topic of work culture. There is topic of work culture. So in GS4 work culture, we'll see this article. Okay, let's start it. Basically, one very important thing I want to tell you here in this particular article, that actually social media has now become a new public square. What is a public square? Public square is any place which is very important for public activity, social activity. Now the people, they are putting forward their viewpoints onto the social media, and in no time those viewpoints become the viral trend on the social media. Hashtag XYZ starts to trend, and the entire world come to know about certain things. Earlier, it was not possible that some ideas which were minority ideas might get a limelight, but now the minority ideas are getting limelight. Now, by the help of the social media, today we find this particular thing, that the quiet quitting, this trend has become very, very popular in the past few weeks. Now, first of all, what is this quiet quitting means? Now, quiet quitting, it means it is about rejecting the notion that work has to take over one's life. Now we always believe this thing that the work is important. Work is worship. Work is worship. Karma hi puja hai. Now such kind of things are being abandoned. It has been said that no, that's not correct. Rather, a person needs to achieve for the balance between the work and the life. And the quiet quitters, these are those employees who say that they'll do their job, but they'll do only what has been committed in their job, in their work. They'll not do more than what was expected out of them, or they'll not do more than what was their mandate. They want to achieve the balance between the work and between the life. Now, basically, we find this thing that today the generation Z people and the millennial workers are increasing into the workplace. Now, first of all, what do we mean by this generation Z people and the millennial workers? Okay, see this thing. So basically, we define the generations onto the basis of their year of birth. Okay, so basically the people who were born between 1928 to 1945, these people were called as the silent generation. Okay, then the people who were born between 1946 to 1964, these people were called as the boomers. Then the people born between 1965 to 1980, they were called generation X or X Gen. Then people born between 1981 to 1996, these people are called as millennials. Okay, so many of you who are watching right now this video might be millennials. And then we have this generation Z. Now generation Z is the people, they are people who were born between 1997 to 2012. So majority of who you are watching the video might be either the generation might be either the millennials or generation Z. Okay, this is something that is there. So basically today if we see the workplace, who are the people on the workplace? So actually two type of people are the ones who dominate the workplace. That's the millennials, and number two are generation Z. Okay, now these people are the people who are over ambitious with respect to their work. These people are over ambitious with respect to their work. Okay, there is a comment, a voice problem. What's the problem with voice? Okay, I hope that now the voice will be clear. Okay, so yes, now when we see the workplaces, in the workplace we find that two type of people are in majority number, that is the generation Z and the millennials. Now these people are the one who want that they should be compensated, they should be recognized if they are doing the additional work. Okay, so they say this particular thing, that we are feeling burnout and they want better work life balance. This is one particular thing. Moreover, understand there is one more issue that is coming. Actually, when we talk about the last 2 years, the last 2 years were very different. Why? Because of the pandemic that came, and in the pandemic the work from home phenomena came, and as the work from home phenomena came, it was observed that a lot more work was given to the people, disproportionate work were given to the people. Okay, so what happened? The work and the personal life balance, it got very disturbed. Earlier, when the people were going to the physical offices, there was a kind of a good balance. Once they have exited the office, it was their personal life. But now that balance has been disturbed. Moreover, at the same time, when the people are not going physically to the workplaces, their efforts are not being recognized, they are not being praised, they are not being compensated if they are doing the extra work, because there is nobody to see them in their work. So what has happened into the last 2 years? In the last 2 years, when the work from home or the hybrid work culture has come, there is more frustration between the generation Z and millennial workers that have come. They want the recognition. Moreover, there is one more third factor also that is there. So recently a survey was done by the Deloitte, and in this particular survey, the generation Z and millennials across the 46 countries, they were surveyed, and at that point of a time, almost half of the generation Z and millennial workers, they say that they are living paycheck to paycheck. It means that they are not earning good salaries. Whatever salaries they are getting, it is just bare sufficient to sustain their month's livelihood. They are not having the enough money that they can save for the retirement, and many of them, they say that there is a financial unease that is coming, and now they want to do some extra work also. So there is one more concept that comes here, and I'll tell you that concept also. So there is a concept of moonlighting. There is a concept of moonlighting. Now, what is this moonlighting? Moonlighting means that people want to take a second job. So after your formal office will be over, let's say at the 5 p.m. in the evening, a second job, okay, or a part-time job is needed to the people. That is called as moonlighting. So because people are now not getting good salaries, many of the millennials and many of the Z generation, they are also going for the moonlighting. Therefore, they don't want to give extra effort in their existing jobs, and therefore also many of them are calling for the quiet quitting. Okay, this is also one of the reason. Now, when we talk about this particular trend of quiet quitting, it's not that for the first time such kind of a thing has happened. In the past also such quiet quitting movements have been there. For example, there was the old time slowdown movement that happened 100 years back. There were work to wages strike that happened into the West, and both of these movements talked about this particular thing, that they'll not do the extra work. There was also the go slow movement that had happened into the past. Okay, go slow movement. Just a minute. So there has been the go slow movement. There is the short pay, short shovel movement. So these movements have also been raised into the 19th and the 20th century. And there the labor union asked that the working conditions are to be increased, wages are to be increased, disproportionate work should not be given. And now this demand that more work will not be done, it is being manifested into the quiet quitting movement that is now going on. Okay. So with respect to the work culture, this becomes a very, very important topic. Now, one more idea I want to discuss with you guys now. So see, when we talk about the work, always the ideas such as the work as worship, they are floated. It's seen this particular thing that one needs to show extraordinary dedication, extraordinary devotion towards their work. The organizational goals, collective goals are more important. But the quiet quitting movement is questioning all those particular kind of ideas. Okay, so this can be a kind of a valid viewpoint that can be put in your answers. So a very, very good article. Now we'll move to the next one. Okay, and one more thing I want to tell you guys, see, for example, the idea that has come here, fine, these kind of things can be asked into the essay papers also. So you need to be very clear on these particular things, and such dimensions are very fruitful. Now, the next article, election commissions to push for internal democracy in parties. Fine. So we'll see this article with respect to GS paper number 2, elections and electoral reforms. Okay. Now, before going in this article, I would like to tell you some of the background information, okay, or some of the basics first. So, when we talk about the democracy, the democracy depends on the fair, transparent and free elections. So fair, transparent and free election are the cornerstone of a democracy. A democracy cannot be a vibrant, effective and a functional democracy if the fair, free and transparent elections will not be there. And in this particular capacity, the Constitution of India has mandated the Election Commission of India that the free, fair and transparent elections are to be conducted. Now, in this particular direction, guys, Election Commission of India says this particular thing, that the internal democracy in parties happens to be a very important thing for the fair elections. Now, what's the internal democracy? So basically, when there is a political party, okay, the members of the political party need to be given they needed to be given the opportunity that they can put forward their viewpoints. Sometimes their viewpoints will be in conflict with the ideology of the political party concerned, but then also they should be allowed an opportunity that they can put forward their viewpoints. Moreover, when we talk about the internal democracy into the political parties, it also means one more thing, that is, every person should be given an opportunity that they can be elected to the supreme leadership of that political party. Now we find this thing that certain political parties are centered around one family, or they are centered around one particular leader. That goes against the idea of democracy. That is the cult. Okay, that is the cult in the political parties. It goes against the idea of the internal democracy. Okay, so it has been provided that any any member of a political party should have the opportunity that they can rise to the highest rank of that particular political party. So there is an internal democracy issue that is coming. Now, recently, this issue of internal democracy has become quite important. Why? Because of the Andhra Pradesh case study. Andhra Pradesh issue. Now, what happened into the Andhra Pradesh? So basically, into the Andhra Pradesh, okay, so into the Andhra Pradesh, fine, the ruling political party has chosen their chief minister as the president of the political party for the life. Okay, so what has happened? The CM has been chosen as for life president of the ruling political party. Now see, you don't need to use the name of a political party, that okay, BJP, Congress, or that political party. No, don't use the names. So the ruling party's chief minister has been chosen as the life president of that particular political party. Now, this particular thing will defeat the internal democracy. How? Because another person then cannot rise to the rank of the president. Okay, so this is something which is not allowed. Now, the Election Commission of India, first of all, has asked that such a thing that has happened into the Andhra Pradesh, it is anti-democratic and such thing should not be carried. Such thing should not be carried. This is something that has happened. Now, but Election Commission of India now wants to make some robust laws. It wants to make some robust regulation that such kind of a thing can be implemented to the T, can be implemented to the core. So what happens now? The Election Commission will ask the parties that every party should follow the internal democracy commitments. And in this internal democracy commitments, the Election Commission of India will ask that every political party should conduct the timely elections within their political party, timely elections within the political party. Every political party should follow their respective political party's constitution. Then thirdly, the rule of a political party needs to be followed. The political party should not be centered around one personality or should not be centered around one particular family. Okay. Moreover, when we talk about the Election Commission of India has the power that it can deregister the political parties, and many of the political parties which are defunct, they have been deregistered also into the past. Now a question comes that can the Election Commission of India deregister a political party if it is not conducting the internal elections, if it is centered around the one family? That can be the violation of internal democracy, and on that ground can that party be deregistered or not? So Commission has said this thing that they don't have power to deregister the political party right now if they fail to comply to the rules. Now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the legal ground, as of now there is no law that the political parties can be deregistered if they have not carried the internal elections. So in 1990s, when the T.N. Session was the chief election commissioner at that point of a time, then an executive order was passed and there was said that every political party have to conduct the organizational elections from time to time. And since then what has happened, Election Commission has held the periodic review of the political parties that whether they are conducting the elections or not. But the ECI doesn't question the procedure that has been followed. Just it sees that elections have happened or not, but doesn't see that okay, what process was used, whether they were fair or all those kind of things or not. So Election Commission of India expects that every political party will abide by their constitution, and every political party has to submit a copy of their constitution with the Election Commission of India. So that is something that is going on. So right now the power is not there, however they can review this thing. Now the Election Commission of India has the law ministry, okay, had asked the law ministry that they should deregister the political parties, okay, but that particular thing has not been implemented. So ECI doesn't have the power, law ministry has been asked, okay, that is something that is going on, okay. So this is guys the issue that's happened, and I told you that Mr. Y.S. Jagan Mohan Reddy was elected for the post of president for the life, and such kind of things defeat the internal democracy and they should not be repeated, okay. This is all about this particular article, and this article happens to be a very important one because from the past few days repeatedly this particular article is coming into the newspaper, okay, just a minute. So repeatedly this particular article is coming into the newspaper in the past, fine. So that's all, and now we'll move to the next article. Labor cost edge may dissipate due to technology shifts, Niti Aayog, okay. Now this particular article will see with respect to the Indian economy GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, Indian economy. Okay, let's discuss this particular issue. See, basically, when we talk about the India, we always say this particular thing, that what is the distinct edge that India is facing. So India faces a distinct edge, that is the demographic dividend. Now what's the demographic dividend? We say this particular thing, that in India we have large working population, and this working population will contribute into economy productively. If I tell you today, the average age of India is around 28 years, and average age of 28 years means that we have large number of people who are young, who can participate in economic activity, and by that particular thing India will get a lot of economic benefit. According to the United Nations Population Fund, according to the United Nations Population Fund, it is written as UNFPA. Okay, it says that the year 2020 to 2040 will be the golden window of India, because during this particular time India will take the maximum advantage of its young population. India will reap the demographic dividend. Now if we see the example of China, 1978 onwards, China came out with the open door policy, and they become the factory of the world. How they become the factory of the world? By using their young population. China was the most populous country. They use that particular thing to their own advantage, and now we say that India will use the benefit of the cheap labor. But the Niti Aayog has provided one very observable and a very critical viewpoint on this particular thing. So recently what has happened, a conclave was held, that is the impact of digitization on foreign trade. It was hosted by the Niti Aayog as well as the Trade Promotion Council of India. And here the Niti Aayog has provided that now we find that the technology such as the 3D printing are coming, robotics are becoming more sophisticated. Okay, and this particular thing will impact the developing countries. So the competitive advantage, fine, such as the cheap labor cost, which usually benefit the developing countries, that particular advantage will go away. Now what happens? Basically the workers, they are physically manufacturing the components, manual labor is used. Now this manual labor will be replaced, number one, by the robotics. Already into the automotive sector, a lot of manual labor has been replaced by robotics. And second is 3D printing. So by the 3D printing, the 3D printers can make the structures. It can make a table, it can make a pens, it can make other electronic equipments. Even we have seen that the 3D printers are now become capable that they can make the tissues also, they can make the organs. Okay, the human organs can also be made by the 3D printing. So the 3D printing and robotics, they will replace the need of the manual labor. So all the countries which are saying this thing that we have cheap labor, we have a lot of working people, that benefit will not actually mean anything in coming 20-30 years. That is very big thing that has come. So again read the heading. What it says, that the labor cost edge, the labor cost benefit that we say, it might dissipate mean it will diffuse, it will lower due to the technological shift such as robotics, 3D printing, etc. So that is a very important dimension. And guys, though this is just a few line concept, but please do add it in your notes, very important one. Now we'll move to the next article. Okay, so there is one question that we can see, what are the ethical aspects of the moonlighting? Okay, so the moonlighting that we discussed, it's being asked that what is the ethical dimensions. Now see, first of all, when we talk about the moonlighting, there is no one viewpoint that whether the moonlighting is good or whether the moonlighting is bad. On both the sides there are the arguments, there are the justifications that moonlighting is not bad. Why? Because after the work has been done in an office, the time, it is the employee's own, and if the employee wants to do something else in that time, the employee should be allowed to do that particular thing. Moreover, if using that extra time means extra income for that employee, allow the employee to do that particular thing, not a harm. Moreover, it's also said this thing that when an employee will work outside, employee will learn many other skills also, and those particular skills will be used in the existing main job. So the main employer will get the benefit of that additional skills that will be learned, one thing. However, on the other hand, it's criticized also. It's being said that actually what happens, the people when they are taking the second job, they are not doing that particular job solely when their first job is completed. Many times it is interfering with their main job. Moreover, they are using the resources of the main job to do their second job. For example, your employer might have given you a laptop, might have given you a computer. Now you are using that particular laptop to do the freelancing work for some other employer. That is unethical. So on both the hands there are the arguments. Okay, so that is something, one clear viewpoint is not there. And very rarely, now when we use the word controversy means that on both the hand there are the valid justifications. So that's the case into the moonlighting. Okay, so I hope it's clear. Now, moving to the next article. Now, the next article, soft power, the new race every country wants to win. Fine. Now, this article will see with respect to GS2, GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, international relation, international issues, international relations, international issues, and how sports can be used to enhance the global presence of India, the global presence or global footprint of India. So this is a kind of a new dimension or a kind of a fresh perspective. So when we talk about the IR, international relation, usually we discuss country to country issues. For example, India Bangladesh relations, India UK relation. But now this article is talking that how the soft power at the global scale can be leveraged by India by using the sports. So fine, it is a kind of a different and a fresh perspective that's being given. First of all, I want to tell you one very basic concept here. What's the power? What do you mean by power? Okay. Now, the power means ability to influence or direct other person's behavior. That is power. Okay. For example, this is me. If I can direct any other person's behavior, if I can influence any other person's action, that is power. Power can be of two types. There can be hard power, and then there can be soft power. Now, when we talk about the hard power means military power. Now, you see this particular thing, for example, the USA. Now, USA is a very big military power, and by that particular thing, if USA orders a small country that you will not do the trade with the XYZ country, a small country have to stop the trade. Why? Because otherwise the USA might attack on that, because the USA have a very strong superpower status, military power. That is hard power. On the other hand, there is a soft power. Soft power means to influence other people by the distinct advantage in terms of your attraction, culture. Okay, fine. I'll give you just one example. I just give you one example. Okay, suppose this is me. Okay, I have a gun. Suppose this is me and I have a gun. Okay, and because I have a gun, okay, and suppose this is you. I put this gun on your head and I ask you that, okay, you do this XYZ work. Because obviously you fear your life, you want to live, you will do whatever I want to do. So by using the gun, I have made you to do something. It's my hard power. Second thing is that, suppose some of you think that I am let's say a good teacher, and because you think me of a good teacher, you respect me, and I now ask you that you please do this thing, and out of respect you do that thing that I asked you. That is the soft power. Okay, so every country has the soft power and the hard power. Okay, soft power is by military, by aggression. Okay, and hard power is by military, by aggression. And when we talk about soft power is the attraction through culture, through political ideas, through policies. Okay, and not by the coercion. Fine. So today when we talk about the Bhutan, for example, many countries respect the Bhutan. Why? Because Bhutan's focus on their environmentalism. Bhutan measures their progress not by economy. Bhutan measures their economy by happiness, gross happiness index they have in their country. Bhutan is the only one of the carbon negative country in the world. It means that the carbon that they are emitting, more than that they are absorbing. So this is a distinct soft power that Bhutan has. Now when we talk about India has a soft power. Our culture, our spirituality, yoga, okay, Ayurveda, it is a soft power which attracts the other countries towards the India. And when we talk about the soft power, fine, okay, by the way, the concept of soft power was given by Joseph Nye. The concept of soft power was given by Joseph Nye. Okay, so that's something. Now when we talk about the soft power, sports can also be the soft power for India. Sports can also be the soft power for India. Okay, in this particular capacity, now we see that the golden period of India had started. How the golden period of India had got started? You see this particular thing? You see this particular thing, that first of all the Tokyo Olympics were there, then the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games have happened. Now when we talk about the Commonwealth Games of 2022, Indian athletes have won 61 medals, including the 22 gold medals. Now all this particular thing highlights towards the India's soft, it highlights India's better performance, and the sports by that way is becoming a soft power for India. It will encourage working towards, it will also encourage a geopolitical power in favor of India. I'll explain how that is going to be a soft power. Now see this particular thing. For example, when we talk about China, China connects with the other countries on the basis of sports. For example, when we talk about China, China has good performance into the elite sports. China's performance has been good. It trains the athletes of the other countries in the sports, and by that particular matter, it is connected on people to people front. That is one thing. Moreover, understand one thing. Recently what has happened, China has signed an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Kenya, and the Kenya will be training the Chinese runners. Okay, so Kenyan athletes, they have always been good into the sprints, into the sprints. Okay, so Kenyan runners will train the Chinese runners. So can you see this thing, that the Kenya China relationship is deepening? The Kenya and China are fostering the good relations. Okay, and in this capacity what will happen, China can influence the Kenya also. How? Sports. So therefore the sports can bring the people to people ties. Okay, that is something that's going on. Now when we talk about the India, so Tokyo Olympics, okay, 7 medals, okay, that was won. Okay, that was a very good performance, but at the same time, even in the Commonwealth Games, I told you that India's performance has been very much good, but at the same time, India has world's poorest population to medal ratio when it comes to the Olympics. Poorest. Okay, so in terms of population, we right now had around 18% of the world population, but are we getting the 18% of the total medals? No, that's not the case. So still a lot of improvement has to be done. Now in this particular direction, the Ministry of Sports in 2014 came out with the TOPS scheme. What's this TOPS scheme? It stands for Targeted Olympic Podium Scheme. In this scheme, India's performance in the Olympics and Paralympics was to be enhanced. Okay, and it was provided that extra monetary assistance will be given to the trainers. Okay, best of the best trainings, even the trainings by the international coaches will be given. Okay, so international training, monetary assistance, best of the best equipments, all these particular things were to be focused in this scheme. Now after that, Niti Aayog also in 2016 came out with the 20-point plan to improve the India's Olympic performance. Now, all the 20 point you don't need to remember. Okay, all the 20 point you don't need to remember, but just the summary of this 20-point agenda was this, that number one, the efforts will be made at the level of family. Many a times very good sports person are not able to scale their potential because their families think that the sporting is not bringing them any good. Rather they should focus on studies, they should go to a college. So at this level of family, the support will be provided. A talented sports person will be identified and their families will be sensitized that they should send their children for sports. Then community to school effort will be provided. Efforts at the level of community, efforts at the level of school, regional academies will be opened. Okay, regional academies will train these sports person. At the state and national level, they'll be provided the incentives. Okay, then competent coaches will be provided. Okay, adequate funding will be given. Sports academies will be there. But at the same time, many of these things have not been addressed up till now. So okay, so we see that now more than 6 years have happened since 2016. 20-point program of Niti Aayog came, but has it been implemented? No. So therefore, there are certain recommendations, there are certain way forwards that how the sports performance in India can be increased. So there are certain of the way forwards. Let's discuss these way forwards one by one. Okay, number one, what can be done? India should concentrate on signing the MOUs with the nations that excel in the specific sports. For example, I have given the example that how China is signing the MOU with the Kenya, where the Kenyan runners will train the Chinese runners. So in this particular way, taking inspiration from China, India also should sign the MOUs with the nations that excel into the specific sports. For example, Australia and United Kingdom, they have very good command in the swimming. So we can sign the MOUs with them. After that, when we talk about the African countries such as Kenya, with the Kenya also we can sign the agreements for running. It will train our our athletes. So this is one thing. Second thing is that basically when we talk about the tops, so I have told you that the target Olympic podium scheme, target Olympic podium scheme was brought by the Ministry of Sports in 2014. Now China also has a similar scheme, that is the tops. Okay, now the China has demonstrated one particular thing, that how focusing on few sports is beneficial for a country, fine, which is big. Okay, so in India, rather than focusing on every sport, we need to focus on some sports too much. Okay, this is something that has been there, fine. So in this particular capacity, it has been seen that we need to identify at least 500 athletes, okay, and they should be trained in a competitive climate. Okay, that is one thing. Then next, third thing that has been provided is that private investment also needs to be harnessed to develop infrastructure. You know that in the small cities, particularly tier 2, tier 3 cities, there are not good running turfs, there are not good badminton courts, there are no good stadiums, if even the stadiums are not there. Okay, so good infrastructure is also needed, and in that capacity the corporate houses can be brought. These corporate houses should invest into the sporting infrastructure. PPP models, public private partnership models, can be brought, where both the private and public can make the sporting infrastructure. Now this sporting infrastructure, you need to see this thing, that it's not only that India only needs to win the medal, but also in order to make sure physical well-being of the people, these sporting complexes are needed. Now I just want to add one dimension from my side, not provided in this article. See, when we talk about India, according to the Lancet Health Journal, the non-communicable disease, they are the silent killers. Non-communicable disease, they are the silent killers. Okay, more than 60% of the deaths that are happening, the untimely deaths that are happening, they are because of the non-communicable disease. And these non-communicable disease are called as the lifestyle disease. Because of the poor lifestyle, such diseases are there, and there the sports have a very important visible role. So the sporting infrastructure anyhow is needed to be improved, and in that capacity corporate houses and PPP model can work. And now in this particular article, there is one very good quotation that has also been given, that is, the soft power is not an end but a means to an end. Fine, so you can use directly it in your essays or in your answers. So that's all about this particular article. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, ground plan for India's reformed multilateralism. Okay, now this particular article talks about recently Minister of External Affairs has participated in the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly. So what are the priorities that India had put forward there, how the India's foreign policy is responding into the present times, all those particular things have been covered in this particular article. We'll see that. Okay, so recently the MEA, Minister of External Affairs, has visited the US, okay, for the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly that has been there. Now this 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly, it is a very important one because it's coming in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the theme of this particular 77th session was a watershed moment, transformative solutions to interlocking challenges. Okay, so watershed movement, really it is a watershed movement. Why? Number one, we find climate change is becoming a very big problem now. The IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, 6th assessment report has come, and it has provided that 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise will anyhow happen before 2040. So climate change is a big problem. Okay, after that there are many other problems. Fine, we'll discuss that particular thing in just a minute or two. So basically 77th General Assembly is calling at the 77th General Assembly, India had called for a reformed multilateralism. So global order where, or global institutions, for example the United Nations, in which all the countries are coming, that multilateral order is now needed to be reformed. First of all, right now we find this particular thing that the multilateral institutions, okay, there is a need of institutional accountability. There is need that a wider representation of the developing countries needs to be given. Particularly we are talking about the United Nations Security Council. Okay, we'll discuss that thing. Right now it has been seen that actually multiple things have happened which had questioned the credibility of these multilateral institutions such as the UN. Okay, now what's being discussed here, let's discuss these particular thing. So basically, first of all, COVID-19 pandemic. Now we saw this thing that the COVID-19 pandemic started to become a health emergency in 2020. Okay, and that was a very weak moment for the UN multilateralism. We find this thing that the World Health Organization, WHO, as well as the other wings of the United Nations which were involved into the health architecture, global health architecture, all of them failed. First of all, the information into the timely manner was not shared. Moreover, the response onto the COVID-19 pandemic was not very much good. So therefore, what we have seen, UN's high institutional limitation we have seen. Is it clear or not? Fine. Countries closed their borders, supply chain were interrupted. Okay, what happened? The vaccine, there was a country who were need into the vaccine, they were not provided vaccine, supply chain got interrupted, global trade got interrupted, economy of the world come under a lot of stress, but the UN bodies, UN institutions were not able to take any effort in this particular direction. So we find this thing that the limitation of UN has been seen. Second thing, we find that UN led multilateralism has also been failed to prevent the wars. Now we find this thing that the Russia-Ukraine war is ongoing, and this Russia-Ukraine war is going on for so many of the months. Up till now, UN has not been able to control that particular thing. So what has happened? The veto provisions in the United Nations Security Council. Okay, so the veto powers that have been there into the United Nations Security Council, they are just being misused for some kind of a vested purposes. Okay, so vested purposes. Okay. China's rise. So now we see that the China's rise is going on, okay, and the China is challenging the world countries. Even the China has confronted the India on the line of actual control, LAC, 2020 onwards, the Galwan Valley crisis, such kind of things have happened. So China's rise, China's aggression, you see on the LAC, you see it onto the South China Sea, in the Indo-Pacific region, and now the global aggression is being shown by the China. So this China's rise has not been controlled, has not been regulated by the United Nations. Now we find this particular thing that the China can make its own multilateral metrics. China can make a kind of an entire array set of institutions which will subvert or which will negate the West's hegemony. Economic hegemony of the West and strategic hegemony of the West will be negated. That is something that we can see. Now understand this particular thing. At the same time, international isolation of Russia is going on, and international isolation of the Iran is going on. Now, what will happen? Obviously, the Russia, the Iran and the China all will come together and they will counter the West, and many times the China will try to impose its hegemony, and all this particular thing UN has failed to perform here. Now, therefore, in this particular direction, India has emphasized that a reformed multilateralism is needed. In this reformed multilateralism, India wants that, for example, the body in the United Nations Security, the representations into the UNSC, it needs to be reformed. In the UNSC, the countries such as India, the G4 countries, the like-minded countries, okay, they needs to be given more and more representation. So multilateralism is now to be reformed. A critical point has come, fine, where the UN-led multilateralism, it is showing its limitations, okay, and we need to reform all these particular bodies. Now, at the same time, the Minister of External Affairs had also participated in many other meetings also. For example, Quad. Now in the Quad, Australia, India, Japan and US are there. In IPSA also, India has participated, where India, Brazil and South Africa are there. Then in BRICS also, India has participated, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Okay. Then India, France, Australia trilateral, India, France, UAE trilateral, India, Indonesia, Australia trilateral, all where India has participated. And what India is doing, India is now searching the partners. India is searching partners into the different regions so that India gets more and more support. And by that particular support, India can put forward the reform into the United Nations. One. Secondly, India's foreign policy has changed towards the strategic autonomy. Okay, and as we have moved towards the strategic autonomy means that we'll choose our friends onto the basis of our needs. So the exercise of strategic autonomy also we see here when India is interacting with the other countries and are finding the multiple partners. So that is something that has happened. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular article, and I'll really say that today's newspaper had contained some very good articles. Really good articles have been there. For example, this idea on multilateralism, this idea on the soft article onto the soft power, okay, then the idea onto the moonlighting and this Niti Aayog. So very good articles have come in the today's newspaper. Okay, now moving to the next article, and even this article is a very good article with respect to our GS examination. India incorporation needs a neurodiverse workplace. Okay, so this particular article again will be important for GS paper number 4 work culture, GS paper number 4 work culture, in GS paper number 1 issues of diversity. In GS paper number 1 issues of diversity also this particular article will be used. Now let's see the article. So basically when we talk about the word inclusion, inclusion means that everybody should be given their due representation into the different institutions. Inclusion, okay. Diversity, diversity means as much possible different sets of people, different sets of genders, different sets of ideologies needs to be given representation. So inclusion, diversity, they have become very important, and even in the corporate practices, in the corporate hiring, inclusive workplaces, diversity ridden workplaces, they have become very important. Now in 2019, a McKinsey study was carried, and this McKinsey study provided that in the institutions or in the companies, corporates where gender diversity is there, they are 25% more likely to have above average profitability. So gender diversity means that there needs to be the proper representation of male, female, other genders. So gender diversity means 25% more profitability. Ethnic diversity, the companies, the corporates having ethnic diversity, they outrival their competitors by 36%. So the corporates having ethnic diversity, they are 36% more productive. Then there was one more report, that is India's best workplaces in diversity. There was one more report, I'll highlight it, that is India's best workplaces in diversity, equity and inclusion 2021 report. This report says this thing, that in order to perform better, diversity is needed. So the diverse teams, they perform better leadership, better integrity and better trust is there. That is something that's there. Now we are talking about diversity, gender diversity, ethnic diversity, caste diversity, religious diversity. They are all the different types of diversity, but one type of diversity we are missing, that is neurodiversity. Now this is a new word, many of you might not have heard this word. Okay, if you have heard, very good, but if you don't know what's the neurodiversity means, neurodiversity means that the people from neurodivergent conditions needs to be brought into the workplaces. For example, people suffering from attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder, autism, dyslexia, dyspraxia, okay, dyscalculia, okay, Asperger's syndrome. So we see that the people having these kind of syndromes, we treat these people have some cognitive limitations, and these people are not given due representations into the workplaces. So neurodiversity means that the people suffering from dyslexia, autism, hyperattention disorder, okay, hyperactivity disorder, they needs to be given a proper place. Now first of all, what do all these particular mental conditions mean? I have explained all these mental conditions here just in order so that you understand it, okay. And even on such kind of things, I expect that a question in the prelims can come, because from past 2 years the mental health and mental issues and mental syndromes have come a lot into the news. So first of all, autism. Now what's autism? Autism, it is a mental cognitive condition where the people suffering with autism, they have problems with the communication and behavior. They have trouble in understanding what other people think, what other people feel. They cannot express themselves through words, gestures, facial expressions and touch. So autism is there. After that Second, dyslexia. Dyslexia. Now, dyslexia is a condition where there is a difficulty in reading. Okay, a person is not able to identify speech, sounds. Okay, so it impacts the learning. So, dyslexia involves difficulty in reading because of the poor identification. Then there is a dyspraxia. Now, what's dyspraxia? Dyspraxia means that there is a difficulty in doing the activities which require coordination and movement. Okay, so muscle-mind connection, coordination, okay, such things, the task where such coordination is needed, they find it difficult to do that. Then there is dyscalculia. Now, dyscalculia is a math learning disability that impairs individuals' ability to learn number related concepts. Okay, a person is not able to perform accurate math calculation, so that is dyscalculia. After that, there is Asperger's syndrome. Asperger's syndrome is one where there is this particular disorder affects ability to socialize and communicate. Okay, so communicating with other people, that is the issue that will come in Asperger's syndrome. Now, basically, according to the Harvard Health, it has been said that neurodiversity is a notion that neurodiversity means that people having different mental makeups. Okay, they should be given opportunity that they should interact with the other people. There is no one right way of thinking, learning or behaving. So we actually have made some kind of archetypes, we have made some kind of stereotypes. For example, the one type of thinking or one type of behavior or one type of actions are correct and all other type of actions are incorrect. In that particular thing, if the people think in one particular way, we think them as normal and every other is considered as abnormal. That is not the right thing. That is not the right thing. So Harvard Health provides this particular thing. Neurodiversity is this particular thing that everybody's experience is different, everybody's behavior is different. Okay, so that is something. Now it has been provided that right now nearly 2 million people in India suffer from the neurological and developmental disorder. Is it clear or not? Fine. And these particular people needed to be given the opportunity into the workplaces. Okay, according to the Deloitte, 20% of the world is neurodiverse. 20% of the world is neurodiverse. So will you be leaving these people side? Will you not be giving these people opportunities? No, that is not correct. That will become unethical. So we want neurodiverse workplaces where all these people, such as the people suffering all these particular issues, needs to be given the proper place. Now, it's provided that actually organizations which embrace neurodiversity, they enjoy a competitive edge. Why? It has been said that, for example, the people suffering with dyslexia, they can think about objects into the 3 dimensions. Okay, so in architecture, in design, okay, in architecture, in design, in innovation, the people with the dyslexia can play a very important role because they can think in the 3 dimensions. Okay, they have better problem solving capabilities. Okay, and the people having the dyslexia, they can have the multiple solutions to a problem. Okay, they have the multiple solutions to a problem. They are the out of the box thinkers and they have the above average intelligence. Their intelligence will not be the common intelligence that other people are having, but actually they are better performance. So they should be given the proper opportunity. So therefore the barriers which obstruct the progress of such individuals needs to be removed, and the workplaces needs to be made more neurodiverse, and such neurodiverse workplaces happens to be more productive, they happens to be more effective. This thing has been proved by the studies also. So we need to give them proper representation. So that is a very good article, I'll say. Okay, because up till now, whenever we talk about diversity, we were talking about gender diversity, ethnic diversity, religious diversity, but neurodiversity, I can be sure that 99% of you might not have considered. Okay, 1% would have done, but 99% would not have considered. So good article. Now we'll move to the next one. Okay, midday meal related food poisoning cases at 6-year peak. Now this article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, issues of health. Okay, and if you remember and if you see the GS paper number 2 syllabus, in GS paper number 2 syllabus, the schemes for the welfare of the development sector, the schemes for the development of the welfare sector is provided, and their functioning, their working is provided. So the welfare sector schemes and their working, there also will see this particular article. Okay. Now, okay, now, first of all, midday meal schemes. Now, when we talk about the midday meal schemes, Okay, basically the midday meal schemes happens to be a very important midday meal schemes happens to be a very interventions for improving the child retentions into the education. Now we have seen this particular thing, guys, that actually what's happening, the children, many of them, when they are coming to the government school, they belong to the poor families. Okay, they belong to the poor families, and as they belong to the poor families, okay, many a times they are skipping their meals, skipping their meals, they are not able to get the good food. So in order to give them the good food, what had happened, the government had come out with the midday meal scheme. Now under the midday meal scheme, what will happen, the hot cooked nutritious meals, hot cooked nutritional meals will be provided to the children. Okay, and this particular thing have increased the retention rate into the schools. Now but at the same time we find this thing that many a number of times what's happening, these midday meal schemes, they are creating the problems of poisoning, and because of that particular poisoning the student are becoming ill. Now this particular issue have been discussed in this particular article. Okay, so basically what has happened, midday meal schemes, okay, now there are the 6-year high food poisoning that had happened into the midday meal schemes. Okay, so recently what had happened, the Comptroller Auditor General CAG has analyzed the midday meal related food poisoning that had happened. Now understand this particular thing, that now after the pandemic there are the restrictions that have been eased, onto the school. Now more children are coming into the school, and as they are coming into the school they are consuming their midday meal schemes, they are consuming their midday meal food, and now it has been found that there are many number of children who had fallen ill after eating their midday meals. Fine, they have fallen ill after eating their midday meals. Now basically such kind of food poisonings have happened into the past also, but this particular year, that is 2022, 6-year high food poisonings cases have happened. Now just if you see this particular picture, we find this particular thing, that the midday meal food poisoning peaked around 2015. Now in 2022 it has again come to a very high number. And when we talk about the states in which the midday meal related food poisoning is highest, it is into the state of the Karnataka. Now what type of food poisonings are there? No, that is not important, but just to know I'll tell you. Okay, so the lizard, okay, so basically we find this particular thing, that the lizards, okay, they have been found into the foods. Okay, now according to the Comptroller Auditor General, they had cited many reasons that why there are such food poisoning into the midday meal scheme that is happening. So there is number one, the poor infrastructure, insufficient food inspections are there, irregular licensing is there. Okay, many a times the the organizations which have been given the task to prepare the food into the school, they are not properly licensed. Then there is limited reporting and absence of the feedback mechanism. For example, there is a case study of 2019. What happened, in the case of Madhya Pradesh, Comptroller Auditor General found that this particular thing, that actually the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, FSSAI, had not notified the doctors, okay, that they have to report the food poisoning cases. So in the Madhya Pradesh, children were eating the midday meal food and they were getting ill, and that particular thing was not being notified. Okay, so poor reporting, poor infrastructure, poor implementation, poor supervision, all these particular things, it is increasing into the midday meal related food poisoning. Okay, now understand one particular thing, that absolute numbers you don't need to see. Okay, you don't need to go in that particular detail, but at the same time, if such kind of food poisoning related issues will come, it will erode the confidence in this particular entire scheme will get impacted, and at the end of the day, the retention rate that has been increased by the midday meal schemes into the school, that particular thing will go down. Is it clear? So that is all, guys, the entire issue. Just you need to see this dimension that has come. Now we'll move to the next one. Okay, there's one question that's coming, e-paper and hard copy, is that different or not? See, e-paper and hard copy are not different. E-paper is the exact replica of the hard copy. However, your hard copy now the hard copies and e-papers differ from city to city. Sometimes edition related difference are there, but that edition related difference will be in first few pages. Okay, that doesn't matter. So editorial, text and the context, all these things, national news, they are same. Fine. In UPSC, what's important for us? National news. text and the context page, editorial page, op-ed page, business page, international page. They are important, they are same. Okay, so you don't need to worry. And e-copy and e-paper and the hard copy, they are exactly same, 100% same. And even the Hindu says that the e-paper is the replica of the digital, e-paper is the replica of the hard copy. Okay, now over the top. Okay, now this particular article, guys, talks about the recently introduced Indian Telecommunication 2022 bill that has been introduced. Now this particular article will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, regulation over the OTT, regulation over the telecommunication. Okay, so recently what has happened, we have seen this also when it was introduced. The Department of Telecommunication, they have released the draft Indian Telecommunication 2022 bill, and this particular bill aims to regulate the internet based OTT telecom services. Okay, OTT, over the top, for example Netflix, Disney Hotstar, all these OTT platforms, and even the services such as the WhatsApp, fine, services such as the WhatsApp, etc., Zoom, okay, they will be also regulated. Now this particular bill that has come, it will consolidate the Indian Telegraph Act of 1885, it will consolidate the Indian Wireless Telegraphy Act of 1933. Okay, then the Telegraph Wires Act of 1950, all of them will be consolidated into this Indian Telecommunication 2022 bill that is now coming. Now basically in this particular bill, what has happened, new definition of the telecommunication has been given. Okay, new definition to telecommunication has been given, and broadcasting services, electronic mail, voice mail, video, data communication services, internet and broadband based over the top communication services, Netflix, Hotstar, Amazon Prime, okay, all of them will come under the definition of telecommunication. And moreover, here it has been provided that government may notify separately also some more services which will come under the regulation. Okay, now understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the telecommunication, the telephone, telegraph, these were the things that were earlier regulated. But now the technology has advanced and the internet is now becoming the major source of communication, exchange of information, exchange of media. So in order to reflect that particular technological shift, this Indian Telecommunication Bill 2020 is being brought. Okay, this is something that has happened. Now the article has provided this thing, that over the last 100 and so years, not just the technology has evolved, but at the same time our understanding onto the user rights have also increased. Privacy, transparency, they have become a new rights. Moreover, recently what happened, couple of years back, Puttaswamy judgment came, and into the Puttaswamy judgment, the right to privacy was given as a fundamental right. So now the fundamental rights, right to privacy, they are also increasing. And in this particular capacity, what has happened, government had got so much of the power that it can regulate even the WhatsApp, it can regulate even the Zoom. Now if the government wants to regulate the WhatsApp, it also means that government can track the WhatsApp communication. And how that particular thing will happen, the encryption of the communication that is happening, this encryption is to be broken down. Now it has been provided that the government has the power to prevent the message from being transmitted in the occurrence of a public emergency or in the interest of the public safety. Now in the interest of public safety, public emergency, government can stop the transmission of WhatsApp, can stop the exchange of the messages. Now what's the definition of public safety? This is a very vague kind of a word, and in the name of public safety, anytime the government will regulate, government will control, and the government might even go for the surveillance. So what happens, this particular thing might impact the right to privacy, this thing might impact the right of free expression. This is something that has happened. So a question comes that whether this particular telecommunication bill will be used for the defined objectives or can there be a misuse. So this particular dimension is being highlighted here. Now guys, understand one particular thing. Listen. When we talk about, for example, the Indian Telecommunication Bill 2022, okay, we have discussed some of the provisions. Now understand this particular thing, that for example, when a bill is coming, you need to see that at what a stage the bill is. Right now it is a draft bill. Draft bill means that the just cabinet has cleared this particular bill, and this particular bill has kept into the public domain. It has been kept into the public domain. Now, after this bill will be this will be put into the parliament, and in the parliament then it might go to the department related standing committee. So during that particular time a lot of change might come there. Okay, so therefore you don't need to follow this particular bill too much into the detail, because the changes might come by the time your exam will come. Number one thing. Number two is that see, simply you don't need to go and read the gazette as it will be done by many of the websites where it will be put, because we need to see just the we need to see the intention for the general studies point of view. So always understand this particular thing, that unnecessary PhD is sometimes not needed. Only the main provisions and the controversial provisions of a particular legislation is important, because parliament passes hundreds of legislations in 1 year. So only one which will have some academic importance and the controversial points and major points is something that you has to see. So this is a kind of a course correction that you should know while you are preparing. Okay, now moving on. Very premature to comment on India getting UNSC veto, Jaishankar. So basically guys, I told you we have discussed one particular editorial already, that in the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly, India has participated, and there India has talked about the United Nations Security Council reforms. So right now into the United Nations Security Council, you know that there are the 5 permanent members and then there are the 10 non-permanent members. Now these 10 non-permanent members, they are chosen for the 2-year term onto the basis of election. 2-year term on the basis of election. Is it clear or not? So that is something that's happening. Now, understand this particular thing guys, that actually when we talk about the UNSC reforms that is going on, India says this particular thing, that we want a permanent seat. India says that we want a permanent seat into the United Nations Security Council. So it was asked from the India that when you talk about getting a permanent seat into the UNSC, will that particular seat be having the veto power or not? Now, veto power is to, when we talk about the veto power simply means a power to restrict or the power to restrain anything. Is it clear or not? For example, a particular motion is being asked that, okay, this particular motion, for example, the motion has been raised to put the sanctions onto the Russia. Now Russia uses its veto. It means that Russia will restrict that particular vote that is going on. It will stop that particular thing. So that is veto power. So the permanent 5 members that are there right now into the UNSC, they have the veto power. So will India be asking a permanent seat with the veto power or not? So here India had said that no, right now we have not asked that particular thing. Very premature to comment on India getting a UNSC veto seat or the permanent seat without a veto power. So we have not decided that particular thing. It has been said by the India. Okay, now guys, understand this particular thing. When we talk about the United Nations Security Council reforms, okay, I have discussed the entire article discussing the UNSC reforms. Okay, we have discussed that what's the India's contribution in USC, what are the issues at the UNSC, the 5 issues that have come into the USC, what are the G4 countries, what are the challenges. Okay, now these particular things have not been discussed in this particular article, but the last newspaper analysis that we took onto the Saturday, that is the 24th September, that there I have discussed the entire UNSC reforms. So please watch the 24th September Saturday's newspaper analysis and the UNSC reform that we have discussed there. All the things have been discussed. So here just it's being discussed that we don't know whether we are not very clear that we will be needing the seat with the veto power or with not veto power. Okay, so please I'll suggest you this particular thing, that please go and watch this particular newspaper analysis of the 24th September where this entire issue has been discussed, because this issue is very much important. Okay, that's something. Now let's see some of the questions. Is this session useful for the CGL reading skills? Okay guys, see this particular thing. See, there are no different newspapers for the different exam. Newspaper is one. Okay, and that particular current affairs, okay, the type of questions will be discussed, but once you have the knowledge, fine, that knowledge can be used to answer any question coming in the exam. So see this particular thing. What I intend in this session, I intend to give you a critical analysis which is not given into the newspaper most of the time. Newspaper are just about facts. But in the exam, you need fact plus opinion. Okay, and the fact is just a 2-liner, but the analysis is a kind of an intellectual dimension that we try to give you here into the newspaper. So please don't see this particular thing that, okay, this current affair is only for this exam, that current affair is for prelims, that current affair is for mains. You need to understand that current affair is about the current occurrences that are happening and they are not different कि prelims का कुछ अलग current affairs है, there will be some different newspaper, mains there will be some different newspaper, or for X exam other current affair, Y exam other current affair. Current affairs is current affairs, okay. Depth changes, okay, that's something that you need to see. And in our session we try to give you the highest possible depth, okay, the highest possible depth that is there, okay. So that is one thing, okay, that is something I want to say. OTT platform doesn't comes under IT Act, they come under the IT also, but under the telecommunication also they'll now come, okay, that is the thing. So that is all guys about this particular article. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then guys, please take care of yourselves, and if you have okay, PWD and neurodiverse people are same or not? Okay, people with disabilities, PWD, people with disabilities, it is a wider category. Into the people with disabilities, many type of disabilities come. Okay, so the neurodiverse are only one which have some cognitive syndromes. PWD are a bigger set. Okay, so I hope it's clear. Okay. So that is all guys about the article today, and I hope you have understood article. And if you are liking the initiative guys, you can appreciate us just by hitting the like button and by leaving your lovely comments that you do every day. I am very appreciative of the comments that you are leaving. Please do keep on commenting, please do like us, and I try to respond to the comments, as well as even if I'm not able to respond, I read every of your single comment. Thank you so much, and now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much.